Welcome to the Self-Trust Solution, the podcast for entrepreneurs, leaders, and high achievers who are done second-guessing and ready to execute with clarity. I'm your host, Dawn Leday, the Self-Trust Coach, and each week I'll help you build the one strategy that makes all others work, self-trust. This is where bold goals meet grounded action. Let's dive in. Feel like something didn't work and now you're spiraling in doubt? Before you throw out the whole plan, pause. In today's episode, we're talking about how to shift from discouragement to data and why the smartest, most self-trusting move you can make is to evaluate what happened without drama. Welcome back. This episode is for you if you've ever looked at a result, felt the sting of disappointment, and immediately made it mean something about you and what's possible for you and your goal. Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful tools inside the Self-Trust Solution, and specifically the follow-through formula course. This is strategic evaluation, not the kind that asks, did it work or didn't it work, but the kind that says, what's the data here and what's my next best move? Let's talk about how to do it for data. Most people take action hoping it works, and when it doesn't, they collapse. But when you're operating from a self-trust mindset, you take action knowing it's either going to bring a desired result or it's going to bring data. Data you can use, data you can build from, data that tells you what to keep, what to tweak, and what to toss. That's the heart of Do It for Data. We act not for perfection, but for insight. And that insight leads to better, faster decisions next time. Let's define the difference between data versus drama. Drama says, it didn't work. I suck at this. This won't work for me. I'll never figure this out. Data says, here's what I did. Here's what happened. Here's what worked and why. Here's what didn't and what I can learn from it. Drama reduces and data expands. Drama shuts down action. Data refines it. Let me give you an example. A client of mine was feeling really discouraged by the lack of engagement on her social media. Sound familiar to anyone? She'd been posting consistently, but wasn't seeing the traction she hoped for. And that discouragement, it started to shape her actions and her decisions. She began pulling back, showing up less, creating less, all because she was focusing on what wasn't happening. But when we looked at the data, something very different came to light. Her networking and in-person talks were creating real momentum. People were showing up, conversations were happening, business was growing. And that same social content that wasn't getting any engagement, it was serving as social proof to back up her in-person efforts. It wasn't the lead, it was the support. Once she stepped out of the drama and into the data, she could see where to lean in. She focused on what was working and amplified that, and then experimented with ways to improve her social presence without panic or self-judgment, without throwing it all out the window and creating a stopgap in forward momentum. That's what strategic evaluation looks like. When we evaluate through self-trust, we don't just ask, did it work? So how we evaluate strategically is to ask better questions. What worked? Even if the end result wasn't what you wanted, there are pieces that worked, I promise you. And you have to mine for that because it is how you create forward momentum and better informed decisions for what's next. Then we want to know what didn't work. It's not all good or all bad. Even in the results that we like, there is so much to learn in the results. And then what do I want to do differently based on this information is a powerful way to use it. But we don't stop there. We look deeper. For each result, ask, what worked within me? How did I show up? What mindset, belief, or habit supported this? What didn't work within me? Where did I avoid, shut down, or fall into old patterns? What worked in the actual input output? What specific action, structure, or timeline helped things move? What didn't work in the input output? Was something off in the process, the pacing, the structure? This is how we gather real insight. This is how we grow, not by guessing, but by getting curious and getting real data. So, what makes this magic? Because I do call evaluation magic, not in the way of it just happens magic, but in the way of it is magical what you can get when you shift from drama results, from reductionary results, it either worked or it didn't, to an actual strategic evaluation. Because when you approach evaluation with self-trust, you stop fearing feedback. You stop treating every result like a verdict. You start building momentum that's actually based in truth. You learn what's aligned, you learn what's sustainable, and you learn what's effective for you, not just what's trending. And you're no longer at the mercy of how something feels in the moment. You're making decisions based on what's real. That's the difference between reactive and resilient. What will you take away from today's episode? My goal is for you to evaluate for useful data, not progress interrupting, self-defeating drama. Unwanted results aren't dead ends, they're data. Even wanted results aren't dead ends, they're data. Drama keeps you in shame and data moves you into strategy. Evaluation isn't a report card. It's a roadmap to your next best step. And doing it for data keeps you moving, adjusting, and growing, no matter the outcome. If this episode hit home, if you're ready to move from spinning in what didn't work to building real momentum with what does, then your next step is clear. Join the follow-through formula. Inside, you'll find the exact evaluation tool I use with clients to take action, extract data, and make the next best decision again and again. It's the structure and strategy to help you follow through with clarity, no drama required. Learn more at theselftrustcoach.com. Self-trust isn't built when everything goes perfectly. It's built when you let everything teach you something useful. Do it for the data, because that's how you stop overthinking and start owning your growth. See you next week. Inside every goal is a decision, an action, an evaluation, and an adjustment. Keep building your rhythm with the Self-Trust Solution. Subscribe, leave a review, and explore how we can work together at theselftrustcoach.com. I'll see you in the next episode.